Greetings everybody, it's MB. For today's topics, I'm actually not going to be doing them by myself. I'm actually having a friend share his very side of the story alongside me, but we'll talk about my story first, then we'll get into his, so let's finally get into mine. So my experience with the Selective Service is that they forced me to register for their agency against my will, and that's because the US government requires all 18-year-old male US citizens to register for the Selective Service, and if they don't, they do to them what Tricky does to Hank in Madness Combat. And what I mean by that is if 18-year-old males don't register for Selective Service, then the US government basically fucking throws them into prison, and I'm pretty sure even charges them with fines up to $250,000 or some shit. Like, I'm not trying to say this is fake, like, this is real. Like, basically, if an 18-year-old US citizen doesn't register, then it's basically a felony in the US, just fucking ends their lives. The reason it's not good to be registered for this retarded agency is because the whole purpose of it is in case if there was like a draft, like a war that would cause like a national emergency, which there's not, don't worry, but in case that ever did happen, like a fucking World War III or whatever, it's so the US can deploy all these forcefully registered men and have them fight. And it's not because the US is secretly wanting to honor these men, they just want to use them because they don't actually care. Not only do the military use men registered for Selective Service against their will, but they are actually proud of it and they fucking get off to that. Some things I want to say about Selective Service is that, first off, they are of course extremely sexist, only requiring males to register and not females. 2, they require males within 18 to 25 to register. 3, they force males to register, yet they don't enlist them in the military. And I actually remember hearing something from, I don't even think I would call him a friend, but he's someone I used to know back in school. He actually wanted to enlist in the military, and that's fine, it's his choice. Despite being required to register for Selective Service, the military didn't allow him to be enlisted, which makes zero fucking sense whatsoever. He clearly should be enlisted if he has to register. And of course, I literally just remembered this one. A while ago, I was actually doing some research while studying about Selective Service more, and I found one of the most retarded things that anyone could ever think of. The US government decided that men who are to be forcefully drafted should also have the right to vote. I'm not joking. I actually came across that. It is fucking retarded. I really wish I never allowed myself to be registered for this agency. I could have actually prevented that, but I didn't. And it was a really stupid move for me to not do anything, and I don't know how to unregister. I've done so much research on how to, but I've not been able to find any answers. And if there are any answers, then I cannot access them through normal means, and I don't know why. And on top of all this, the US military takes pleasure in making me suffer and trying to make me fail in life, and gets a sick kick out of using me as their own puppet. I know it sounds like I'm about to start crying, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, it's just this agency has caused me a lot of pain since it first forced me to register, but now that I have talked about it enough, let's now finally move on to the piece of shit himself, Robert Card. For those who don't know, Robert Card's actually the one responsible for causing Lewiston mass shootings, because he literally shot the place, and he's also responsible for traumatizing everyone in Lewiston. I wasn't actually in Lewiston when he was doing all this, but I was certainly less than an hour away from Lewiston, and I was uncontrollably shaking with how scared I was, because he actually at one point escaped through a boat by stealing a boat, and had he like still been out there, he could have ran to where I was, and I was just terrified. Once Robert Card's reign of terror finally ended, I was actually going to call him out for the fucking retard he is, but unfortunately I was discouraged to do so. As I was discouraged, I did not do anything until today, and I really wish I did something much sooner, because I would have been a lot more confident now, and I certainly wouldn't be in the mess of trying to slowly work up my confidence only for all of it to be immediately shattered when something manages to damage it. Now that I have finally shared my experience with Selective Service and Robert Card, I would like to pass the mic on over to my loyal business partner, Sneezetooth.
Thank you for having me on here, MB. It was an honor to share my experience with this. Selective Service never emailed MB or sent him any mail. I don't think they've sent him any mail. Instead, how they had been harassing him is that they've forced him to register for them, or else they'd do to him what Tricky does to Hank, pulling the strings with him and plunging him into an endless cycle of anxiety of a potential draft. They do the same with every 18-year-old male as well. Selective Service doesn't pay at all. Instead, they only give out fake benefits to registries like federal student aid, federal job training, federal employment, U.S. citizenship for immigrants. Are a few of them. The whole Tricky and Hank thing is their hatred towards one another in Madness Combat. Another thing I should include is that the military has befriended children and hired pedos. My experience with it was that we do hate Robert Card for what he did. His reason of causing the Lewiston mass shooting is not an excuse, nor is it redeemable. He was a 40-year-old man who knew damn well what he did, and he didn't care. He got off to what he did. He knew everything he was doing. He didn't have to cause trauma at all. He traumatized me and you, and he's proud of it. He didn't kill himself out of regret, but rather as an escape from consequences. Had he fled, he would have basically done the unthinkable. And my experience with it is this. I had lived in the same town where this happened, and a lot of times Wikipedia will try to dumb it down and say it was because of brain trauma or a mental illness or something, but these shooters do know what they're doing, and sadly, they are just assholes. They want the people dead that they had planned on killing the entire time, and they plan on devastating everybody's lives and tearing us apart and traumatizing us forever. There's no excuse for what they do to us, and it scared me coming up there. I just moved out of Lewiston a couple of years ago. I haven't been back many times, but the shooting was just so often and the violence was so often. It's pretty dark and scary, and Robert only added to it and made it worse. So
Thank you so much, Sneezetooth. That was amazing. You definitely went into more depth with the latter than I did. These two topics were honestly just some of the hardest because I've never talked about them before, and I was always really scared to because I constantly feared negative reactions from others, which I will make into a future video. But for now, that does it for this video. I hope you all stay safe, and I hope you all have a great day.